So welcome to my presentation, and this is about Charles Hatfield, professional rainmaker. I don't know if you all have heard of him, but he is somebody that was hired by the city of San Diego back in 1915 to help bring rain to our drought-ridden city. And we'd had a drought for about 3 years. Now, he liked to call himself the moisture accelerator. But things were pretty dry back then. We had, no rain. And we can all attest to that has happened in our lifetime as well. So things were pretty dry out there. Life was tough. There was dust everywhere. But then Charles Hatfield came along, and he started actually in 1902 doing Rainmaker kind of stuff. And he did it for over 30 years. And so we were not the only ones that he made a profit on, or excuse me, not a profit, but helped with the rain. So it was a verbal agreement between Hatfield and the San Diego City Council in mid-December 1915 to produce enough rainfall to fill the Marina Reservoir within a year. And I'll show you that in just a second, for a fee of $10,000, which would be equivalent to about $200,000 today. And basically it was a no rain, no pay basis. And no one had actually seen the reservoir completely filled, and so the city thought they had nothing to lose. So what he did was he built a series of towers, two towers, 35 feet tall, and over there at the Marina Reservoir. Here is the Marina Reservoir right here. It's a rock-filled dam, and it is across the Cottonwood Creek, which is a tributary of the Tijuana River. It's at altitude of about 3,000 feet. It's our highest and most remote of our reservoirs in San Diego. And it's one of the few that we have where it's our supply system that we rely solely on local runoff and rain. When the lake is completely full, it's a depth of 157 feet, and that would be a ton of water. 15 billion gallons of water is what they say. So anyway, Charles set up his towers. He had 2 towers, and this is what he said. I use certain chemicals, which I'm not going to tell you what they are. I work atop 35-foot towers in which there are great evaporating tanks. And you can see the tanks. In fact, I'll do my little control thing right there. Those are his evaporating tanks. And the fumes of the chemicals by means of heat are mixed with the surrounding air, which results in an overturning of the atmosphere. That's what he called it, an overturning of the atmosphere, which creates cirrus clouds. And from the cirrus clouds, they develop into nimbus or rain clouds. So that was in December when he did that. And guess what? January 1st. Stormy weather starts to show up. Just the clouds at first, just out there, and people from all over said, oh my gosh, I think it's gonna rain. They hadn't seen rain for a while. The clouds were there. And then guess what? It rained on January 5th, just kind of lightly, just little raindrops. And then it started to get heavier. By January 10th, it rained harder. And then on the 14th, it rained so much that people's roofs leaked and their storm drains overflowed. And then on the 17th of January, Mission Valley flooded. That is Mission Valley right there. And then it also submerged many houses all the way south in San Ysidro. So that was by January 17th. And then guess what? It cleared up again. No rain. So he hadn't fulfilled his filling of the reservoir, but on January 26th, rain came again. In fact, for 3 days, steady rain, and it flooded the San Diego and Tijuana rivers so much that it forced people to abandon their homes. The rain kept coming through the 28th, and it kept coming, and not only to San Diego, but also Ventura County, Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. But the heaviest was right in San Diego. In fact, it was so heavy that the Otay Lakes Reservoir, which was built back in the late 1800s, guess what? It burst. And that was on the 27th of January. So it burst and water came cascading through Chula Vista and killed 20 people. Originally they said 50, but it was just 20. The dam was eventually rebuilt a couple years later and renamed the Savage Dam, and now I think we call it the Otay Lakes Dam again, but it definitely burst through the sides there. And then this is what happened. This is the flooded area right here. So flooded, in fact, that that's how you got around. And Hatfield said, I understand the newspapers are saying I didn't make the rain, that it was an act of God. And he said, all I have to say is that Marina has had 17.5 inches of rain in the last 5 days, and that beats any record I've seen for this area. But things flooded. The trolley system flooded. Downtown flooded. In fact, the National Weather Service to this day says it's the most destructive and deadly weather event in San Diego County history. And damages were about $8 million back then, which is equivalent to about $200 million today. So after the floods came the cleaning up. And it was messy, it was muddy, it was tough to get everything cleaned up. So what happened to Charles Hatfield? Well, on February 17th, he came into town and spoke in front of City Council, and he said, I've fulfilled my contract and I desire that the city should fulfill its contract to pay me the $10,000. Well, the city reneged because they said they didn't have an enforceable contract because it was just a verbal contract. So he filed suit and he said he was willing to take a settlement, and the city attorney countersued and said they would pay Hatfield the $10,000 if he would assume the legal responsibility for the flood and all the damage it caused, which was at first they thought just about $3 million. So of course he turned that down. After many years, the lawsuit was eventually dismissed and a judge ruled that it was an act of God and that Charles Hatfield had nothing to do with it. But anyway, a little bit later, again, he continued doing it into the 1930s. And he died in 1958 in Pear Blossom, California. And his death wasn't even reported until 3 months later. But he was 82 years old. And his brother died in 1974. And neither of them ever gave away the secret of what his formula was. There was even a movie made called The Rainmaker. And that is with Katharine Hepburn and Burt Lancaster. And it's kind of based loosely, well, it's based on a play, but the play was based loosely on the life of Charles Hatfield. But they said that all they really know about the secret formula is that it contained 23 different chemical ingredients and emitted fumes that bystanders said reminded them of Limburger cheese. So thank you very much for watching my presentation on Charles Hatfield, the Rainmaker or the Moisture Accelerator.